Yo, what's going on, y'all? Happy Monday. How y'all doing today? Y'all good? Yeah. This is the Miller Time Podcast, where people of color redefine success. And I am Patrick Miller, and today we are continuing the conversation on purpose. Last week, we began this conversation talking about purpose. We talked about a little bit about me and my story and how I discovered purpose, but also we defined what purpose was. But this week, we're going to be continuing the conversation talking about purpose, but we're going to talk about how someone who is yet to discover purpose can find purpose themselves. And we're going to talk about how purpose actually starts in the mind, that purpose is both a mindset and a skill set, and that when we are exploring purpose, it is important that we are willing to not only explore the world around us, but also be willing to explore ourselves. And that purpose can be serendipitous, meaning that sometimes some of us can stumble upon purpose without any preconceived notion, while others will have to be intentional about pursuing purpose. This week, we will talk about how purpose, in order to discover purpose, it is important that we learn how to be open, curious, and challenging. Let's get started on the second half of this conversation. You did it on purpose.
Maybe let's think about like a person who doesn't know their purpose and like is seeking their purpose.
Yeah.
So they're in the proactive stage.
Yeah, I love that part.
What is that person doing while they're in the proactive development part?
So I love this just because my top strengths, if anybody reads like Clifton Notes and stuff like that, or Clifton Strengths. If you go through Clifton Strengths, they do the Strength Finder, and you can go through an entire survey, and they can give you 5 strengths or 30 strengths. Is it 30 or 35?
Something like that.
Yeah. So I did that, and my top strength is strategic. Yeah, so I love having strategies. I love having plans and being intentional. That it helps me feel good about the work that I'm doing, but also I feel like effective in what I'm doing. So I wrote it out in a couple strategies. I would say it's these are the strategies that you move forward, and I would say it's 2 parts. It's a mindset and it's an action.
So with pursuing purpose, it's a mindset and it's action.
Right.
Okay.
You have to take on a certain mindset, and you have to actually do certain actions.
Okay, tell me about it.
Okay. So in order for you to pursue purpose, first you have to ready yourself in your mind. It all begins in your mind, just like we were talking about in the last episode, that you got to believe. With Spark, you got to actually be in the right type of mindset and the right type of belief. So the first mindset that you have to have is that you have to be open for exploring yourself, the world, and your experiences. It means before you approach anything, before you do anything, you have to be open. You have to be at a place where you're saying, okay, it is possible that the way that I see the world is wrong or only part. So when you approach with that mindset, it really gives you the ability to see that there might be something else to the picture.
And there's actually science to this, about this mindset.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Are you asking me or telling me?
I'm asking you.
I'm like, you found science? No. Yes, absolutely. So
this is still in the George Mason University.
This is still a part of George Mason's
university research. Philosophy? How do I know this is legit?
This is Patrick's philosophy. This is Patrick's strategy that I put together from the research.
Nice, cool. Okay.
So one, you have to be open. You have to be open for exploring not only just self, with the world and experiences. A lot of times it's easy to just be like, well, I can be open for exploring the world, but ourself sometimes is like, oh, I know me, and that doesn't change. But being open for exploring self, but also be open for exploring experiences, meaning things that you do and things that happen to you.
Okay.
Second mindset, there's going to be 3 mindsets. Second mindset is that you have to remain curious. about new experiences.
Okay.
You have to remain curious about the unknown. Meaning you have to ask questions. You have to keep yourself in a mindset that you want to know. I want to know. I want to ask questions. When you put yourself in a curious state, it really opens your mind to be able to see again what else is going on. Ask questions and not just see that, oh, okay, this is a new experience, but also I want to know more about this experience. I want to ask questions: who, what, where, when, why, how. Like as I do this will again prepare me for finding my purpose.
Okay.
The third one is you have to be willing to challenge yourself. That in order for you to find your purpose, it's not going to be a comfortable journey. It's not going to be something that is just easy. Right. It's not. Yeah, you're not going to la down the road, but you got to challenge yourself to actually do some things to find your purpose. Because a lot of times, like for myself, it wasn't until I challenged myself to go to Nicaragua that I got closer to my purpose. That a lot of up until that point, my whole purpose was acting. It was like everything was about acting. Wow. And it wasn't until Nicaragua that I was like, oh, wow, like maybe I'll go beyond this. Because I remember even at Nicaragua, people were telling me like, oh, yeah, you want to be an actor? You're going to be such a great actor. Because I remember we had like did some skits and stuff like that. They was like, you're going to be an amazing actor. And I believe it, blah, 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 blah. I was still telling people that in Nicaragua. And it wasn't until I got back that I was like, maybe it's more.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had to make yourself open to this new experience. You had to stay curious throughout the experience as well. And you had to be challenged of like your previous notions of who you were, who you thought you were going to be. Which
I have to say this program did a really good job of making us curious. Like a lot of our journey throughout the entire 3 weeks was we were going to keep a notebook on us, and that he was like, Abbas Hassan was like, hey, you are going to ask questions. He's like, I really want you to ask questions. I want you to drill these guys. I want you to ask tough questions. I want you to try to stump them. I want you to ask everything you can about everything. Why are you here? What are you doing? Why is that happening? How do these people feel about, like, I want you to ask every question. And so because of that, because we were so like on with like trying to ask them questions, that I did that with everything out there. And so it really kept me in a curious state. So I would say that was very helpful in helping me find purpose. But also I was willing to challenge myself. I was willing to go to a new country. I was willing to force myself to speak a new language. I was willing to drink milk from a cow's udder, which is uncomfortable and challenging. I was willing to do a lot of different things that were different for me. So yeah, that was really interesting. Those are the three mindsets. You have to be open, you have to be curious, and you have to be willing to challenge yourself. Okay. Those are three mindsets.
So before I even get started, I need to make sure I have this mindset, and I'm sure I need to maintain this mindset in the process.
All the way through, right. Okay. Yeah. So this is just the beginning, right?
Okay.
So now when we move into the actions, what are the actions that you actually need to do? You have to pursue self-concordant goals that are in line with your interests and your values. This is really huge. In order for you to find purpose, your purpose is in line with your interests and your values, meaning the things that you enjoy, the things that you like, your interests, all the things that, maybe be hobbies or whatever, and your values. What are the things that are important to you? What are the things that you love? What are the things that you hate?
So, for an example, if I say, I love Jesus. That's something I'm interested in. And something I value is people. Like, I value hanging out with people and, like, meaningful relationships with people.
I would say that your love for Jesus isn't really an interest. I would say that's more of a value. Like, you value Jesus.
And then my interest is people?
Or you could say that you value people. You value Jesus. You can say your interest is biblical understanding, or like, or
relationship building.
Yeah, you can say your interest in relationship building. You can say you're interested in relationship building. That's one of your interests, and your value is Jesus and something else, right? You might say like Jesus. So what you do is you use your this is later on, but yeah, what you would do is you would combine your interests with your values, your interest in relationship building and your value of Jesus, and you would use relationship building to talk more about Jesus.
So I would find that I'm in my purpose when I'm doing that.
You would be closer into your purpose. But again, purpose is a journey, and purpose has to be explored. It isn't just something like, oh, you're purposeful, you're good, like that's it. Like there's more depth and complexity to purpose beyond just relationship building and Jesus, but there's more even to that and how that works and how that happens, because your only interest isn't just relationship building, right? You have a bunch of interests. So eventually we find a way, how do we really align to all of our life? We're doing everything we're interested in, and we're taking care of everything we value.
So what's the other actions? If I know what I'm interested in, I know what I'm value. Like what?
So you're pursuing. That? So say first, I'm pursuing goals that are self-concordant to my interests and my values. Okay. So that means that I'm going after these things I'm going after, and it doesn't necessarily have to be both. It can be one or the other. I'm just pursuing things that I'm interested in. Like if I'm interested in sports, I'm going to pursue those things around sports. If I'm passionate about this, I'm going to pursue being around those things and taking care of those things that I'm passionate about, the things that I value, the things that are important. So I'm just pursuing those goals, but I'm pursuing them with an open mind, exploring, and I'm pursuing them with that. I'm exploring myself, and I'm exploring the experience. So realizing that I'm open, and I'm open, and I'm curious, and I'm asking questions about this experience that I'm going through.
Okay.
So as I'm doing that, I'm making myself available for even opportunities that might arise for me to understand my values and my interests.
What do you mean making yourself available?
So now I guess I would say I am pursuing opportunities. I am being available and pursuing the opportunities that arise in line with my interests or my passions.
Gotcha.
So that means that when I see something coming up, I'm being open, and I'm being aware of opportunities that might arise that, oh, this really aligns with my interests, or, oh, this really aligns with my value. So now I'm open for all these opportunities, and I'm like, hey, I'm going after these opportunities. If an opportunity comes up, I'm going for it, because this is an opportunity for me to learn, for me to experience, for me to try something new, to explore myself, to challenge myself. Maybe this is a new level even in my interests. And so I'm going to do this so that I can challenge myself and ask questions.
Gotcha. Okay. So intentionally seeking those opportunities.
Intentionally seeking those opportunities.
Okay.
Maybe that's a better way of saying it. Not I'm open or I'm available, but more I'm intentionally seeking opportunities.
Okay.
So first one is I'm pursuing goals. I am intentionally seeking opportunities. And then the third one is I'm creating spaces to talk in depth about my interests and my values.
Okay.
So not only am I pursuing goals and am I going after opportunities, but now I'm actually creating a space to talk about my interests and values, to really understand them more and have more conversation about them.
Sounds like what we do.
Sounds like CoCo Pumpkin Life. Absolutely. All three of those. We help people set goals. We help people find opportunities. And we help people to talk in depth about everything.
We're really about the proactive.
No, for sure.
Steps.
We're definitely about the proactive. Like everything else, the reactive and the social learning, like that's on the person.
Right.
But these are things that we can actually help control.
Right. And I at least what we do is we are all about creating spaces where people can reflect. People can make a course of action. People can talk about the things they value and their interests. And so it seems like having that space is vital for purpose development.
Right. Yeah. And then with that comes the understanding of how how values and interests actually interact with each other. And then you find a way to pursue them together, congruently. Okay. Now that word comes in. So now you have the opportunity to see how they actually work together, and you actually have the opportunity to pursue that. So the first is I'm going after goals. I'm setting goals that are in line with my interests or in line with my passion.
Values.
I'm sorry, yes, values. So I'm setting goals that are in line with my interests and in line with my values. Secondly, then I am actively pursuing opportunities to chase after my interests and my values. Then third, I've created a space where I can talk about and discuss and go deeper and find the connection points on how my interests and my values correlate with each other. And then third, I'm pursuing those opportunities. I'm pursuing my value and interest together.
Okay.
Then the last step, which is super important, which a lot of people will skip and a lot of people will not think is important, but is actually one of the biggest, most important steps of this, which is reflection. Of course, statistics show that if you do not reflect about your learning, you don't learn. And so this is the biggest step. Yeah, you don't return the information. So it's super important to reflect, because now you can take the information that you learn and you can really apply it to yourself and your own identity and who you are. And this is really all even identity development. Really, when you take this step, you really get to understand who you are, and you really get to even develop yourself as a person. So a lot of times when people say I'm going to find myself, I want to, I need to know who I am and all these different things, like this is probably the most proactive way. This is the proactive way of understanding your own identity and understanding your purpose. Is I'm pursuing the goals that are in line with my interests and values. I am actively seeking opportunities for my interests and my values. I am creating a space where I can discuss my interests and values and how they correlate. I am pursuing my interest and value as one, and then I'm reflecting on the opportunity. I'm reflecting on the experience. I'm reflecting on myself. I'm reflecting on my decisions. And because of that, I'm able to learn. I'm able to really take it in. And then the study by George Mason really shows that you actually really get to be refreshed. You get to be revitalized. You get to actually take the time to strengthen yourself, strengthen your pre-existing interests, and even deepen your process and broaden your interests and values. So you actually expand your purpose now. So at one point, maybe your purpose was Jesus and conversation building. But now, as you've done that, maybe you found out that you have other interests, whether it be around psychology and, I don't know, success and all these different things that it develops by pursuing those opportunities.
Wow. I mean, it just opens up so many other what ifs and questions and how do you know and what do you do next,
right.
I mean, it really just reminds me of like the experiences and the work we do with our clients in CoCo Plan My Life, where we get to see people who walk in different stages of purpose development.
Yeah.
Like there are some people who walk in, they're like, how do I even find what is purpose? How do you spell it?
Right.
And then there are some people that are walking in some level of their purpose. They know their interests and their values, and they're walking in some kind of capacity, but they want to take it to the next level. Like maybe there are some parts of their lives that still don't align with their purpose. So I guess my question is, how do you know when you're not living in purpose?
So when you're not living in purpose, I think there's two types of people. There's a person who lives in purpose, and there's a person who doesn't live in purpose. I would say that someone who is living in purpose someone who's living in purpose is not attached to small trivial things. In fact,
someone who is not living in purpose?
No, someone who is living in purpose.
Oh, okay.
So someone who is actually living in purpose is very, I would say, almost fluid in a sense. They're the person you see who isn't stopped by small hiccups or failure or opportunities and failed opportunities or closed doors. They're the type of person who seems like they can overcome anything, and they seem like nothing really gets them down. A person who is in purpose is a person who is almost unstoppable. And the reason why the person who's in purpose is unstoppable is because there isn't just one path that leads to purpose for them. That when you realize how big purpose is and how far off and how grand scheme of things like purpose is, that just because I don't get this job or I don't get this opportunity, or maybe this business deal didn't really go through, or whatever it is, like that doesn't stop them because it wasn't attached to them or that specific road or that specific path. It's bigger than that. And so just because this didn't work out for me, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. In fact, it's a learning opportunity to get me to go towards purpose. A person who is in purpose realizes that there are 500 different paths that lead to their purpose, and they can achieve it as long as they keep pressing and they keep exploring and they keep themselves in an open explorative mode where they're exploring themselves, they're exploring the world, they're exploring experiences. When they remain curious and they ask questions, and they don't close up when things don't go their way, but they remain curious, they ask questions, they figure out and they solve problems. When they challenge themselves to go beyond what just feels good for themselves, they're unstoppable because they're moving in purpose. But the person who is not in purpose is a person who attaches themselves to small things. When someone who is not in purpose, they tend to attach themselves to goals, or even to things that like meaningful things, or things that feel good in the moment, like very trivial things, whether it be like a position, a certain title at a company, a certain amount of money, a talent they have, or anything like that. So like for example, if my purpose was to work with Will Smith and be an actor for Will Smith, like I would be devastated right now. Like literally, I'm a bum right now because I'm not doing what I should have been doing. I should have been acting. I should have been on Fresh Prince before I went out there. I should have been in the next Bad Boys. I should have, you know what I mean? Like I should have been like in my purpose, but realizing that my purpose is so much bigger than that. Like my purpose isn't attached to one specific route. I remember for a while I was like, I wanted to be a police officer, and I was really like excited about that. Like I went after it. I applied for the Oakland Police Department, and I like literally passed the physical exam. Did really well at the physical exam. Even the writing test, I passed that. And I remember I did a bunch of interviews and different things like that, and I didn't hear back from him for a while, and then all of a sudden he sent me a letter saying, hey, you were denied. And I was like, dang, that sucks. Like I really wanted to do that. And though it sucked that I didn't get into it, it didn't shake me or like rock my world. I was like, well, like I can still achieve my purpose without being a police officer. Because really it was like, I love Oakland so much that I want to be able to create a safe city for everybody. But also I want to be able to be the face that my people see when, they have to go to jail or if they're being arrested or anything like that. Because who knows who is arresting them, who knows who doesn't care about their situation, that's coming in and putting handcuffs on them or slamming them on the sidewalk. Like I want them to be able to interact with me because I want to be that cushion between them and somebody else. So that was my purpose. Like that's what I felt like my purpose was and why I was going after the police position. But when I didn't get it, I was like, okay, I mean, I can still do this in schools. I can still do this in thing. I can stop them from even getting to the police officer. Yeah. Like, so it didn't stop me from feeling like, oh, I missed my purpose. Because my purpose wasn't attached to just being a police officer. My purpose is about being able to save my city or save my people from what they're going through. Yeah, save my generation. So purpose, a person who is in purpose is not shaken by circumstances because they know that there's another path. A person who is not in purpose is shaken by everything because they're attached to things that don't matter.
Well, what if someone is like, I don't know, let's just say they're super passionate about human trafficking, and they work retail, and nothing in their life has to do with saving people, rescuing people, delivering people, freeing people. All they do is just work retail, but they say they're super passionate about this, and nothing in their life aligns with that. Is that person in purpose? I
mean, if nothing in their life aligns with that, then I would say, no, they're not in purpose. But if they're like, oh, but I really am interested in retail, then I would say, okay, how do we get your interests to align with your value? If you value and you're passionate, if your values and your passions align with human trafficking, then and your interests really align with like retail, maybe it's like with fashion or something like that, then how can we get your fashion to impact your values.
Gotcha.
Whether it be maybe you find a way to sell clothing that has a conscience that is able to raise enough funds to create awareness around human trafficking, or maybe you're able to create a brand that every piece of clothes sold will go towards this organization that's taking care of human trafficking or something like that. Like, then you can say that person is living a purpose. But if they don't care about retail, they don't care about clothing, and they care about human trafficking, but they aren't doing anything related to that, then they're not living in purpose. Definitely, someone who's not in purpose is someone who's just doing something for the sake of money.
Yeah.
Or they're just doing it because they need to pay their bills.
Right.
Then that's what they're attached to. They're attached to their bills. They're attached to paying rent. They're attached to, that's what their identity is all wrapped in, because literally their decisions, their choices, everything is in line with something else, not what they're passionate about.
And I think that kind of goes into what the common dominant narrative about maybe purpose and meaning is associated. Wait until you're retired to live and do the things you really care about. But for now, you just gotta grind. You just gotta do the stuff that you hate so you can build that empire, and then later you can enjoy and live in your passions and interests and desires. We know that we don't have to accept what that narrative about what our purpose and when we get to live in our purpose. We can choose to live in our extraordinary life and to live in purpose, with purpose, on purpose now. So my question to you is how does knowing my purpose gonna bring me success? How does me walking in my purpose right now really gonna bring me success?
I think, and right now, as opposed to waiting until
I'm 60 and my kids are moved out, and then I can do my singing career that I've always imagined.
Well, I think is that it's not necessarily that living in your purpose isn't going, living in your purpose, that if you're not living your purpose, it's not going to bring you success. Because I think previous generations have done it, where they've just worked and did jobs they hated and just bust their butt because they wanted to provide for their family. And I think that's because they didn't really spend the time developing purpose, because at that point their only purpose was to make it happen for their family. They wanted to be able to put food on the table for their kids and their family, and so whatever they did was in line with their purpose of providing for their family, because that was all that was important. But I think that now we live in a day and age where knowledge, information is everywhere, and it's accessible, and you now have the opportunity to explore what your life could look like if you chose one path versus if you chose a different path. Where maybe back in the days, if we were just a small village, and we had a farm, that's all I know, and that's all I care about. So really, my purpose is about making sure that my village can eat, and making sure that they are taken care of, and my family can eat and they're taken care of. But now that we live in this world where our minds are exploring and seeing all these opportunities and all these things, and whether we want to accept it or not, purpose is developing because the time is developing. And as technology advances and opportunities open and close, and as new companies come up with new positions that have never been heard of, purpose can now be developed because now you now have the opportunity to explore all that there is.
Right.
So I would say that why pursuing purpose now would make you successful versus waiting for it is that, I mean, if we're redefining what success is, and I would say, especially for myself as a person of color who culturally we come from a tribal culture and a very communal type culture, and we come from like families and communities that are really tight knit and supportive and really connected with each other. It's important that like we get to see like each other enjoying life. I would say I would think that, and there's a different way that we like to have success, that it isn't just about making money and being able to live the easy life, but we want to enjoy life. And I think that with wanting to enjoy life is that I know that there are a lot more people who are rich and have tons of money and are unhappy.
Right.
There's a lot of billionaires and millionaires today, and there are a lot of unhappy millionaires and billionaires. And Tony Robbins says this all the time, is like, the biggest failure is not that you're unable to become a millionaire or billionaire. The biggest failure is that you became a billionaire and you're unhappy. Like that's the biggest failure. So I would say the reason why you want to pursue purpose is because no one's ever going to get to the end of their life and say, man, I wish I got a few more dollars. They're going to say, like, I wish I would have lived the life that I wanted to live.
Right.
And so it's really about just doing what feels good for you and doing what feels right for you, and making sure that you are able to enjoy your life to the fullest, because life is short. And because of that, you will do a far better job doing the things that you love than you will doing the things that you hate for $1.
Right.
You will be able to create more opportunities. You will be more creative. You will be more explorative. You will push yourself and challenge yourself to do new things because you're doing what you love. And because of that, you will expand possibilities not only for yourself but for others. And so pursuing purpose not only just does well for you, but again, it does well for other people. If you're just doing it so that you can eat and so that you can have money, that's it. That's really all it is. And there's not much energy that needs to go into that. You just need to make some money. But when it's not about the money, it goes beyond the money, and you're able to create opportunities not only just for you but for others to expand their purpose as well.
Right. And I mean, that goes into kind of like our little slogan about purpose, like what you do matters. Like what you do impacts the whole world around you. And we are not people that live in little petri dishes and we only just care about ourselves and do whatever benefits us. But like the decisions I make don't just impact me, they impact you, which impacts your mom, which impacts your brother, which we live in an interdependent society that is trying to be independent. But I did want to say one thing about what you said. People of color tend to want to like just focus on enjoying life, and I think there's a lot of ethnicities and cultures that, even though they're very interdependent, it's like you sacrifice everything for the happiness of your family, not your own happiness. And so there can be a lot of people of color that have experiences where they can't pursue their purpose and they can't pursue what they're passionate about because they have to sacrifice everything because their family immigrated so that they can live a successful life, which to their parents looks like getting a doctorate degree, making $100K, like, which may not be what they want to do and may not feel like what their purpose is, but because often collectivistic cultures are very interdependent and you sacrifice everything for what your parents and your elders have done for you, I can see how a lot of black and brown people feel like they can't live their purpose because their parents' values are completely different from theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the whole research around millennials and why millennials are the way they are is because we saw our parents struggle for a long time to save up a bunch of money for retirement, and then the recession happened and all that stuff is gone. It's like, man, you busted your butt at that job you hate for so long and lost all that money and that house possibly. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not gonna bust my butt at some job that I might lose all the money from anyway. Like, there's nothing. If nothing is really for certain, then I'm just gonna do what I love regardless.
Right.
So, and I would say that, like, I didn't really put that together until I heard someone say that. Like, I saw my grandpa working until the day he left for Kansas to move to Kansas at the age of like 65, 68 or something, maybe. I don't know. And I saw him working really hard with his hands. He was a very hard worker. And so I saw that in my grandma as well. To me, I'm like, look, I saw y'all do it the normal way, and you're still like having to work. Even now, my grandparents are in Kansas, working. They're working a part-time job. They're able to live off their Social Security a little bit, but they still have part-time jobs. And I'm like, okay, you did it the American way. You did it the way that society said you should do it. Right. You went to school, you got your degree, and you started working. And you're still working. Right. At 70 something, you're still working. Like, it's terrible. Yeah. I don't want to have to look at my grandkids and see them looking at me with like sadness, wishing that they can do something so that I can stop working. Like, I want them to be able to see that I lived a life of fulfillment and joy, and that if I'm working, it's not because I need money, it's because I love this so much. Right. That I don't need to retire. And that and I inspired them to do the same.
Right. Wow. So, I mean, we've said a lot, we've talked about a lot. What's like the one thing that you would tell someone, basically, I guess, summing up everything you've already said, if someone just didn't listen to everything, all these 30 minutes, and they're like zooming through the end.
To the end to get the good stuff.
The goods. What do I do if I do not feel like I'm living in purpose? I do not know my purpose. How do I get myself into living in purpose?
Step one. Open yourself up. Be open for all the opportunities. Be open for exploring yourself. Be open for exploring the world. Be open for all experiences. Even if you don't do any of the action steps, this is probably the most important thing, is to be open, to remain curious, meaning ask questions about everything, and challenge yourself to do new things. Then once you've prepared yourself in that way, go ahead and start pursuing those goals that are in line with the things that you want to do. If there's something that you're just like, I have this interest in dog sledding, I don't care, do it.
That's random.
No, seriously, like, it might be random, but do it. Do it, explore it, go chase after it, see what happens. You might find something, you might learn something about yourself, you might learn something new about dog sledding, you might learn something new about Alaska, you might whatever. Wow. You might come across some new experience that will then align with one of your passions. But the only way you're going to find it out is by being open and exploring that opportunity. Really making yourself available and being intentional about seeking opportunities to do the things that are in line with your interests or even your passions or your values. And then, but you most definitely, we are, like Courtney said, we are interdependent. I was about to say interdimensional species. We are interdependent species, and we rely on each other for growth. So when you have conversations and you discuss, you cause yourself to spark up new ideas and new thoughts. So definitely creating those spaces. Pursue opportunities where your interests and your values align, and take time to reflect. Take time to reflect. Take time to think about all the stuff that you learned, all the stuff that you saw, all the stuff that you experienced, because that is the self-expansion process. That's the time where you get to relax, where you get to boost your physical strength back, your mental, your emotional, and you really get to just refresh yourself so that you can do it all over again. You can begin to pursue goals, and you can begin to go after opportunities. You can begin to have conversations. You can begin to align your purpose with your values. But it all starts with being open, and being curious and being willing to challenge yourself.
I am curious of, even though I feel like I'm in my purpose right now in the multiple things that I do, like, how do I continue to stay in it when there's so many things that pull for my attention, things that seem cool, things that might take a lot of time, aren't really what I want to do. Like, how can I stay focused even when, like, someone like myself, I feel like I know what my purpose is and I'm moving in my purpose, but how do I keep myself centered in that and not get distracted by everything and everybody else?
Yeah, well, purpose is the self-regulator. It really aligns you back. Like, you have to continue to ask yourself, is this in line with my purpose? I was talking with someone today who they are definitely in a place of, like, pursuing their purpose right now. And they were like, I feel bad because I got to say no to a lot of people. I got to say no to a lot of people, and I feel bad, and I feel guilty because I'm like, I was saying yes a while ago, and now here I am, and here I am saying no to all these people. But I have to ask myself, like, would this overwhelm me doing things that isn't in line with my purpose? It really would. So there's no way I can do it. And so you have to realize that your purpose should affect your behavior, meaning the things that you do. When someone looks at your life, they should be able to see that your purpose is really guiding the things that you're doing. They should see that all the stuff that you do, your habits, all your habits are in line with something. They have something in common, and that's your purpose. Your efforts, meaning the energy that you put towards something, all the energy that you focus should really be in line with your purpose. Your decisions. So, like this friend, he's got to make the decision to say no to a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different things that aren't in line with his purpose, because he took the time to explore his purpose, and he knows that this isn't going to actually be beneficial and it doesn't align with his purpose. And the last one is his goals. All your goals need to be in line with your purpose. That when I look at your goals, when anyone looks at your goals and we say, hey, let's look at your goals, we should be able to see how that there's something in common, and that's your purpose. So your behavior, your efforts, your decisions, your goals, they all center around purpose. And purpose, and in that's really where identity lies, within all of that. So
a good thing to keep myself on the path of purpose is, or maybe that could kind of be like a thermometer too. Like, I can tell I'm moving in my purpose when, like, my behavior patterns, my efforts, all the decisions that I'm making, my goals are aligning. But, like, maybe when I can tell maybe that I'm not moving in my purpose anymore when some of those things start going haywire. Like, I'm making decisions that are completely random and, like, just wrong. They don't align with even who I am, or I'm setting goals that, like, have nowhere connected to, like, where I'm trying to go. Like, I think that can be a really good thing that I can keep in mind. Like, am I moving in my purpose in this little decision that I'm getting ready to make? How does this add or move me away from my purpose?
Yeah, definitely. Even for, like, accountability, like, if you're saying, like, you want someone to help keep you in line with purpose, the things that they can look at is, is your behavior aligning with your efforts, with your decisions, and with your goals? Like, if these things aren't aligning, then something's off. Like, whatever it is. If you're making a decision to do something that has not been in line with your goals, it hasn't been in line with all the efforts you've been making, it hasn't been in line with your habits, then I can tell you right away, this isn't a good decision for you.
Right.
We do that all the time with a lot of our clients that we work with. They'll be like, hey, I got this new idea, I want to do this. We're like, something seems off about that.
Right. But it's like they're being open to new experiences. For sure. They're being curious, but even we don't want to just be curious about everything.
Yeah. Well, we want to be curious. We don't want to explore everything.
Right.
We don't want to actually take the energy, the effort, or make a decision, or set goals,
out of line,
or develop habits in line with those things. Because if it's not in line with our purpose, then we shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we can talk about this for hours. There's so many like sub questions and stories and like experiences that I believe that a lot of people are dealing with in our generation of like, how do I find fulfillment? And we know it's through purpose.
Yeah.
And so, one, thank you for sharing all these different stories and experiences that you've had.
Yeah.
Even new things that I've learned as my hubby. But now I'm hoping that all of our listeners have a clear sense of what is purpose. How do I know I'm moving in my purpose? What are the things that, like, the process of developing purpose, and then even tell signs of when you're not moving in purpose and maybe need to align yourself. Yeah, it's been a deep dive. Deep dive. And yeah, so I mean, I think we should leave them with a challenge. What's your challenge?
That's good. Yeah, I got a challenge. I would say my challenge for you today is to take an opportunity. I would say, and then maybe this is for someone who's like trying to discover purpose for themselves. Say, take an opportunity to do something new. Step out and do something new. Like, is there something that you're interested in? Is there something that you are, something you're interested in, something you've always wanted to do, something you've always thought about, something like, like, I wish I would have took this class, or I wish I would have took this opportunity. I wish, whatever it is, take that opportunity, put it on your schedule, actually make it happen. Like, do it. Even if it turns out to be something you did not like, that is okay, because now you were curious, you opened yourself up to it, and you learned that maybe this isn't something you wanted to do. But what you have to do is you have to open yourself up to be able to try new things and do new things. So if you're that person, you're sitting at home and you're like, there's something I've really been interested in, I really thought about, I've always been curious, like, I wonder if I would do well at this, I wonder if this is something, that I would like, or what would it like to be going on this experience. Really just take that time, put it on your calendar, really say, like, all right, I'm going to make myself do it, I'm going to challenge myself to do it, and when I'm done doing it, I'm going to reflect. I'm really going to take the time, I'm going to ask myself some questions, I'm going to be like, okay, what did I learn about this experience? My favorite reflection questions, you guys can have these. First one, what was your biggest learning? What was your biggest takeaway? Or you can say, what was my biggest learning? Second one, what was something that was a challenge for me? And then the third one is, what has this inspired me to do now? So that you could think about, what did you learn? What was the challenge? What has this inspired you to do now? Do that, and I guarantee you'll find yourself moving closer to purpose, and you'll feel good about it, because you'll find yourself moving and doing things that you love and the things that you want to do. So that's my challenge.
Nice. And we want to know what those things are that you guys decide to do. So we'd love if you reach out to us, email us, let us know, hey, I'm committing myself to doing this. And even if you're like, I don't even have a space to talk about these things. I don't have anybody to hold me accountable or to ask me these kind of questions, because it is really hard to reflect when you're by yourself. Like yesterday I had a super hard day and I like needed to process and reflect on everything that had happened, but I was so exhausted and I was like, I'm not about to sit up and ask myself reflective questions to process how I felt. And it wasn't until the next morning when I was able to like spend time reflecting with Patrick that I really felt like I was able to process everything that I went through the other day. And then I had learnings that I was able to like move forward with. So sometimes I totally think we need people to be there and stand in the gap with us to hold that space for us. And honestly, that's what me and Patrick love doing. And that's what we do in CoCo Plan My Life.
We do it for each other too.
Yeah, we do that for each other. And so if you are looking for a space where you can reflect, you can process, you can be challenged and be curious, like hit us up. This is what we love to do. We'd love to assist you in walking in your purpose, discovering your purpose, because we know what you do matters. What you do impacts the world around you. So head over to our website, CoCoPlanMyLife.com, and you can just click that button, brace yourself, and send us an email letting us know how we can support you. And even if it's not through CoCo Plan My Life, if it's just like you have a question, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Even if you're just like, hey, you guys suck.
Oh, wow.
Do it.
Okay.
But be nice. But do it.
Give us some constructive criticism. Let us know things that you guys want to hear as well. We are getting ready to finish our series on BSPF. And we have one more letter to go, F for flow. And so we're going to be wrapping it up. But then we're going to be starting a whole new series. So we'd love to hear what you guys want to know, stories or topics. If you guys want to know
about us, if you want to know about Courtney, about her journey. If you want us to go in a little more detail.
Patrick as a black man and the challenges of a black man in millennial society today.
Right. I mean, we got a lot. I mean, we got one, just being black. What is it like being black woman, black male? What is it like being married young and successful? And
it's about to be our 3-year wedding anniversary this weekend coming up.
What is it like to be, well, by the time they hear this podcast,
it will be past our anniversary.
What is it like being Christian this day, and like what does it mean to be Christian?
Living in a politically correct society. There's a lot. So let us know.
And we mix it all together too.
We'll talk about all of it.
Yeah, we'll talk all about all of it. We'll tell you all. We do it all.
And we like to keep it real. So sometimes we can go there, and obviously this is one of our longest podcast episodes thus far. So we'd love to hear even what you guys think about, like, hey, we want more teaching, or hey, we want more stories, or hey, we just want you to like talk. Just like we want to just hear conversation. We would love to hear from you guys, and we do this for you guys because we feel like we are moving in our purpose, and the way we move in our purpose is also by sharing. And so so if you like this podcast, we would love if you'd rate us,
like, subscribe, follow, share,
do all the verbs,
do all of it,
share it, comment,
please.
Yeah, because we want to be able to reach more people like you, people of color redefining success. This is a farewell. This is an adios, a goodbye.
And please remember that you have the power to create an extraordinary life.
Extraordinary. Peace and hair grace.
All right, y'all.
Don't forget to wear your bonnet tonight.
Oh, I got mine.
Okay. Purple. Bye.